Have you ever longed to become someone unshakable, someone who remains unaffected by criticism, rejection, betrayal, or loss? Have you ever dreamed of the day when the silent pain, the inner torment that gnaws at you while you pretend everything is fine on the outside, finally comes to an end? Maybe you're simply exhausted, tired of trying to please everyone, tired of maintaining an image of strength when, in truth, you just want a moment to breathe, just a pause from the pressure of being untouchable. But here's something you might need to hear, even if no one has dared to say it out loud. The more you try to escape pain, the more it controls you. Hiding from hurt, numbing yourself, or trying to appear unaffected doesn't protect you. It only keeps you chained to everything that wounds you. The words that cut deep, the silence that isolates, the actions that disappoint. This isn't weakness. It's a reality most people live with. The difference is simply that some are better at pretending. Carl Jung, one of the founding voices of depth psychology, once said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." That statement holds a key truth. True resilience isn't about building walls or turning cold and detached. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about integration, shining a light on the parts of you that still live in darkness. Real strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the courage to know exactly who you are even while you're bleeding. If these words speak to you, it's not a coincidence. This message is for the part of you that's tired of constantly being emotionally at the mercy of others, for the part of you that always feels like you're losing a battle you can't name. The truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. But to change, you'll need to confront some difficult truths. Truths that may sting but, for the first time, might finally set you free. You believe your pain comes from what others have done to you. The betrayals, the rejections, the careless words, the silence. But the harsh reality is that none of that holds any real power over you, unless there's already a wound inside. What hurts you is not merely what happens externally. It's what those events awaken within you. It's the story you tell yourself, the unresolved trauma, the emptiness you try to mask with strength, pride, and the exhausting need to look like you've got it all together. Jung taught that the pain we feel from the outside world is a mirror of what we haven't yet integrated within ourselves. That's why some people can endure tragedy and still remain grounded, while others fall apart over a simple word or gesture. It's not about what happens. It's about where it hits. Here's a difficult truth. You still suffer because, deep down, you're trying to control how the world treats you. You're still striving to be enough, smart enough, kind enough, strong enough, as though that could guarantee protection from harm. But control is an illusion. The more you cling to it, the more anxious and reactive you become, always trying to predict the unpredictable and prevent the inevitable. If you want to stop suffering, you must stop protecting yourself from suffering. You don't need more control. You need more awareness. As long as you believe others must change for you to feel peace, you'll stay enslaved by their behavior. True freedom begins the moment you realize that nothing from the outside can harm you unless it echoes something unresolved within you. This is where the real battleground lies, the unconscious. What you can't see, don't understand, or refuse to confront is what ends up ruling your life. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The pain, the unexplained anger, the sadness that shows up without warning, none of it is random. These are messages from forgotten parts of yourself, parts you've pushed away, ignored, or silenced. The unconscious isn't just some hazy backdrop. It's a living system of unresolved memories, fears, and desires that continue to dictate how you think, feel, and act. Why do certain words break you while others remain unfazed? Because those words touch the raw, unhealed parts of you. You haven't faced them, you've only buried them, hoping they'd stay quiet. But they haven't. And Jung was right again. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate. It oppresses. And what have you been doing all this time? Judging yourself. Suppressing yourself. Silencing your emotions as if that would make them go away. But the unconscious doesn't vanish. It just finds darker ways to express itself. In toxic relationships, in cycles of self-sabotage, in anxieties that strike when things finally seem okay. This isn't bad luck, it's your inner world crying out, trying to wake you up. And still, you keep sleeping. Do you truly want to stop being hurt by everything? Then stop running from what lives inside you. Because as long as you don't understand your unconscious, you'll be controlled by it. You'll react without knowing why, and the more you try to armor yourself from the world, the more exposed you'll become to your own inner wounds. But there is another way, and it isn't about resistance. It's about integration. Becoming untouchable is not about defending yourself. It's about knowing yourself so deeply that nothing outside you can destabilize you. Most people think the key to emotional strength is shutting themselves off. They build walls, wear masks, act indifferent, and pretend they no longer care. But inside, they're still bleeding. Because the problem isn't that we feel, it's that we don't know why we feel. This only happens when we are strangers to ourselves. Jung once said, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when you touch a human soul, be just another human soul." That hidden soul inside you, the one buried under a facade of strength and control, is crying to be seen. Emotional strength has nothing to do with being cold. It's not about denying pain, avoiding conflict, or acting unbothered. It's about wholeness. It's about turning toward the parts of you that you've locked away. You don't become unshakable by building walls between yourself and the world. You become unshakable when you realize that no one can touch what you've already fully embraced within. When you own your flaws, fears, and shadows, they stop controlling you. You stop reacting. You start choosing. And that is true freedom. Jung called this process individuation, becoming who you really are. Not who others want you to be, or who you thought you had to be to survive, but the authentic self that emerges when ego and shadow are brought into harmony. It's not about being better. It's about being whole. And here lies the truth that few ever tell you. The more you run from pain, the more it controls you. The more you try not to be hurt, the more fragile you become. But when you face your wounds, when you meet yourself fully, in all your beauty and darkness, nothing outside can truly break you. This path requires courage. The courage to look within, to drop the mask, to feel everything. Because pain, contrary to what we've been taught, is not the enemy. Pain is the door. And behind that door is your transformation. Are you ready to walk through it? From an early age, you were conditioned to avoid pain, to treat it like an enemy rather than a messenger. You were told that crying is weakness, that feeling deeply is dangerous, and that suffering should be hidden or silenced. So you ran. You buried it. You distracted yourself. But no matter how far or fast you flee, pain always finds another way in. It doesn't vanish, it mutates. It resurfaces as anxiety, irritability, numbness, boredom, or self-destructive behavior that feels inexplicable. Ignored pain doesn't die. It digs in. It carves out caverns inside you until, one day, the weight of all that unacknowledged hurt causes everything to collapse without warning. Carl Jung viewed pain differently. He believed suffering was not a defect in the system, but a signal from the soul. To him, pain was the language of the deeper self, the unconscious mind's alarm, meant to wake us up. He once wrote that depression is like a woman in black. If she shows up, don't shun her. Invite her in, sit her down, and ask what she came to say. But we rarely do that. We avoid. We silence ourselves. We stay busy, numb, distracted, anything to escape what truly matters. And yet, beneath the discomfort, there's a question waiting to be heard. What is this pain trying to teach you? Suffering feels unbearable not because of its nature, but because of the inner war it reveals. There's a part of you that wants to grow, evolve, transform, and another part that desperately clings to the familiar, the safe, the known. That tension is what causes pain. Change is uncomfortable. Growth requires surrender. Letting go of outdated beliefs, toxic relationships, and the identity you built to cope with the world. This is a grieving process. It is the death of who you were, to make space for who you might become. And though it feels like destruction, it's actually the soil in which something new can be born. In moments of collapse, when the ego dissolves and vulnerability is all that remains, your truest self begins to emerge. Not masked, not armored, but real. In that raw space, suffering becomes sacred. It strips away the layers, the roles, the expectations, and brings you to your knees before the one truth that can liberate you, yourself. Jung understood this intimately. To him, suffering wasn't a sign of failure. It was the starting point of the journey inward. Pain is not the end. It is the threshold. The road it opens leads to individuation. The process of becoming your full, authentic self. But most people turn back before they reach this point. The darkness scares them. They distract themselves, numb themselves, and climb back to the surface. But not you. If you've made it this far, it means you are ready to cross. What comes next is not easy, but it is real. The journey of individuation is not for the faint-hearted. Few dare to begin it, and even fewer have the courage to see it through. It offers no comfort, no certainty, no guarantees. It doesn't protect the ego, it dismantles it. To become who you truly are, you must unlearn who you thought you were. And that process is more painful than any external loss. You begin to realize that so much of your identity, your accomplishments, your persona, your pride, was built to earn validation, to survive. But survival is not the same as living. Individuation is life calling you to something deeper, beyond coping and pretending. It's when the unconscious starts pushing repressed truths and hidden wounds to the surface, demanding integration. To individuate, you must shed the mask, what Jung called the persona, a facade of social convenience. That means tearing away the layers you once thought were you. But in doing so, you discover a power that no one can touch. You gain clarity. You meet your fears, your shame, your desperation, your anger, and you say, I see you. You do not control me anymore. That's where true strength is born. Not from appearing unshaken, but from being internally grounded. You no longer chase approval, control, or praise. You no longer need to appear strong. You are strong because you've made peace with your darkness. You've become whole. This wholeness comes with a price. Solitude. Not because you'll be alone, but because few people can walk beside you through such depth. Many remain trapped in masks, in fear, in avoidance. As you begin to liberate yourself, you naturally grow distant. Not out of arrogance, but out of truth. You no longer belong to the places you once hid. That distancing is not rejection. It is evolution. You are outgrowing what once confined you. And here lies the final revelation of the journey. Clarity is your protection, not strength, not defense, not control. Consciousness is what shields you, because when you see clearly, nothing holds power over you anymore. Now that you've come this far, it must be said plainly. No amount of external protection will save you if you remain unconscious of your inner world. Words will still wound you. Rejection will still sting. Loss will still break you, unless you awaken. Awakening is not an event. It is a daily commitment. It is the willingness to look inward even when it hurts. To take responsibility for your emotions, without blaming others, the past, or fate. Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." You've spent your life resisting, trying to be enough, to be perfect, to be untouchable. And yet, here you are. Exhausted, weary from the fight. But now you know, true emotional resilience is not about becoming harder, it's about becoming clearer. It's not about building walls, but about building awareness. Because when you understand your wounds, your patterns, your emotional reflexes, the world loses its grip on you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still hurt, but you don't lose yourself. And that changes everything. What protects you is not hiding from life. It's embracing it fully. Those who live at the surface are knocked over by every wave. Those who dive deep find calm, strength, and stability below. That is where you're heading. When you begin to live from a place of depth, with presence, integration, and self-acceptance. Life doesn't stop testing you, but it loses its ability to undo you. Pain may still visit, but it no longer defines you. You stop performing strength and start embodying truth. Your worth is no longer up for negotiation because it no longer lives on the surface. Instead of being reactive, you become rooted. You feel everything, but you're not consumed. You face the storms, but you don't collapse. That is the quiet power of someone who has made peace with their inner world. If something within you stirred while reading this, it means you're already walking the path. You've chosen awareness, and that choice is the beginning of transformation. Let this not be a fleeting insight, but a turning point. The journey won't always be easy, and growth will often be uncomfortable. But every step you take toward your truth is a step toward freedom. Keep going. Don't retreat. The most authentic, powerful version of you is not just a possibility, it's already unfolding.